The signal from beyond. Captain Maya Reed stood motionless before the massive viewport of the EDF Thunderchild, watching distant stars glimmer against the void. 14 years of service in the Earth Defense Force had taught her that space was rarely silent for long. The Thunderchild, humanity's most advanced warship, had been patrolling the outer colonies for 3 months without incident. That changed 17 minutes ago. Captain, the signal is still coming through. Frequency unchanged. Lieutenant Soren Nakamura's voice broke the silence on the bridge. Reed turned from the viewport, her dark eyes narrowing. Origin point confirmed. Yes, Captain. The Cetus Arm, approximately 47 light-years out, well beyond our colonial territory. Reed approached the Central Command interface, her uniform crisp despite the long shift. The holographic display showed a pulsing dot deep in unexplored space, and we're certain it's artificial. The pattern is too precise, too deliberate, said Dr. Elena Vargas, the ship's chief scientific officer. It repeats exactly every 12.7 seconds, contains embedded mathematical sequences that couldn't possibly be natural. It's a distress call, Reed said quietly, more statement than question. Most likely, Captain, Vargas nodded, though in no language our systems recognize. Reed expanded the star chart with a gesture, studying the vast distance between the Thunderchild and the signal's origin. How long would it take us to reach it? Commander Jackson Chen, her XO, stepped forward. With the new quantum drive at maximum capacity, 5 days, 14 hours. And if it's a trap? Security Chief Marcus Kowalski's voice carried his usual caution. Wouldn't be the first time someone tried to lure an EDF vessel into ambush. Reed considered his words. The Thunderchild was more than just a ship. It was Earth's most closely guarded secret, 3 kilometers long, equipped with experimental weapons systems and defensive capabilities that had only been theoretical a decade ago. Only 5 people on the bridge knew its full capabilities. If it is a trap, Reed replied, they'll get more than they bargained for. But we can't ignore a potential distress signal. Not when lives might be at stake. Reed looked around the bridge at her crew, the best Earth had to offer. Many had served with her for years. They'd faced the unknown before and prevailed. Mr. Chen set course for the signal's origin. Lieutenant Nakamura informed command of our decision, but maintained communication blackout once we're underway. If someone is listening for responses to their signal, I don't want them tracking us until we decide to be seen. Captain, Dr. Vargas interjected. Protocol suggests we should wait for reinforcements before. Noted, Doctor. Reed cut her off gently. But by the time reinforcements arrive, whoever sent that signal could be long dead. The Thunderchild was built for exactly this kind of situation. Mr. Chen, engage quantum drive when ready. Aye, Captain. Course plotted. Quantum drive spooling up. Reed returned to the viewport as the enormous ship began to turn, its massive engines humming with power that resonated through the hull. She felt the familiar tension before a jump, the mixture of anticipation and dread that came with heading into the unknown. Quantum drive engaged in 3, 2, 1. Space twisted around them, stars blurring into streaks of light as the Thunderchild punched through the fabric of space-time itself. The 5-day journey passed in a rhythm of preparation. Reed ordered combat drills, systems checks, and scenario planning. The science team worked continuously to decode more of the mysterious signal, extracting fragments that suggested a civilization in peril. Reed barely slept, spending her time reviewing everything they knew about the uncharted region they were heading toward. On the evening of the 5th day, she sat alone in her quarters, examining the latest signal analysis when her door chimed. Enter. Commander Chen stepped in, carrying a data tablet. We're approaching the coordinates, Captain. Arrival in 1 hour. Reed nodded, gesturing for him to sit. What's your assessment, Jackson? Chen had been her XO for 7 years. Before that, they'd served together during the Proxima incident. There were few people she trusted more. The signal is definitely a distress call, he said, Dr. Vargas's team isolated linguistic patterns consistent with urgent communication. But there's something else. He handed her the tablet. Energy readings from the system. Massive energy discharges consistent with weapon signatures. Whatever's happening there, we're dropping into an active combat zone. Reed studied the data, her expression grim. Alert status 1. I want all hands at battle stations before we exit quantum space. Shields at maximum. Weapons hot. Already done, Chen said with a slight smile. This crew knows you well, Captain. Reed allowed herself a brief moment of pride. Let's hope we're not too late. The Thunderchild emerged from quantum space into chaos. Multiple vessels detected. Nakamura called out, his fingers flying across the tactical interface. Reading 20. No, 27 large ships in orbit around the fourth planet. Energy weapons discharge detected. Orbital bombardment in progress. The main view screen showed a blue-green world partially obscured by smoke and fire visible even from space. Around it, sleek, angular vessels moved in coordinated patterns, methodically firing upon surface targets and smaller craft attempting to flee the planet. Life signs, Reed demanded. Billions on the planet's surface, Vargas replied, her voice tight. Population centers under heavy bombardment. The fleeing vessels appear to be evacuation ships. They're being systematically targeted. Reed watched as a small transport, barely a quarter the size of the attacking vessels, desperately maneuvered to avoid incoming fire. 3 larger ships pursued it, weapons cutting through its minimal shields. The transport is broadcasting the distress signal, Nakamura confirmed. They're the ones who called for help. Reed's decision was immediate. Intercept course. Put us between those hunters and their prey. Full power to forward shields. The massive Thunderchild moved with surprising grace for its size, accelerating toward the engagement zone. Within moments, they positioned themselves directly in the path of the attacking vessels, shielding the damaged transport. Open a channel, Reed ordered. All frequencies. Channel open. Attention unidentified vessels. This is Captain Maya Reed of the Earth Defense Force ship Thunderchild. Cease your attack on civilian targets immediately. The response came in the form of energy weapons fire, which splashed harmlessly against the Thunderchild's advanced shields. No effect on shields, Kowalski reported. Their weapons are powerful, but nothing we can't handle. The lead vessel is transmitting, Nakamura said. Audio only. A harsh mechanical voice filled the bridge. Interfering species, this conflict is not your concern. Withdraw immediately or be designated for processing. Reed's expression hardened. Target the lead vessel's weapon systems. Surgical strikes only. Targeting solutions ready, Kowalski confirmed. Fire. The Thunderchild's beam weapons lanced out, striking the lead attacker with pinpoint precision. The vessel's weapons arrays exploded in silent bursts of light and debris. Direct hit. Target's weapons systems disabled. The other ships are breaking off their pursuit, Nakamura reported. They're regrouping with the main fleet. Captain, the transport is hailing us, Vargas said. They're using our communication protocols. They've adapted to our systems incredibly quickly. On screen. The view screen shifted to show the interior of the damaged ship. The beings were humanoid but clearly alien, tall and slender with luminescent skin that pulsed with subtle patterns of light. Their large, compound eyes widened at the sight of the humans. You came, one of them said in halting English, shocking everyone on the bridge. You received our call for help. We are the Nelvari. I am first speaker Ilara. Reed stepped forward. I'm Captain Maya Reed of the Earth Defense Force. How do you speak our language? We have been studying your world's transmissions, Ilara replied. We hoped humans might help us when no one else would. What's happening here? Reed asked. Who's attacking you? They are the Harvesters. Ilara's voice trembled. A coalition of machine-integrated species that consumes civilizations. They strip planets of resources and process indigenous populations into their collective. They arrived 6 cycles ago, demanded our surrender. When we refused, an alarm sounded. Captain, multiple ships breaking from the main fleet, Kowalski warned. They're coming straight for us. 30-plus vessels. Reed assessed the tactical display. The Thunderchild was powerful, but these odds were overwhelming. First speaker, can your ship still travel? Our main drive is damaged, but secondary systems function at reduced capacity. Stay close to us, Reed ordered. We're getting you out of here. She turned to her crew. Plot a course away from the planet. We need to draw them away from the civilian population. They will pursue, Ilara warned. The harvesters never abandon a target once identified. Then we better be ready for a fight, Reed replied. Because humanity doesn't surrender either. As the Thunderchild prepared to escort the Nelvari transport to safety, Reed knew Earth had just been drawn into a conflict unlike any they had faced before. The harvesters represented a threat beyond their experience, a threat they knew nothing about. But first, they needed to escape and bring back what they had learned. The Thunderchild's shields flared as the first wave of harvester ships opened fire. Reed ordered evasive maneuvers, using the vessel's surprising agility to stay ahead of the concentrated attack while protecting the slower Nelvari transport. Quantum drive charging, Chen reported from engineering. 2 minutes to jump capability. We won't last 2 minutes under this barrage, Kowalski warned as another hit rocked the ship. Reed studied the tactical display, then made a decision. Set course for the system's asteroid belt. We'll use it for cover while the drive charges. The Thunderchild dove toward the dense field of rocks, weaving between massive asteroids with the Nelvari ship following in their wake. The pursuing harvester vessels were larger and less maneuverable, forced to slow their approach. 1 minute to quantum capability, Chen updated. A massive explosion rocked the ship. Direct hit to our port shield emitters, Kowalski reported. Shields down to 62%. Reroute power from non-essential systems, Reed ordered. We need those shields. Vargas looked up from her station. Captain, the Nelvari are transmitting data to us. Technical specifications, cultural information, everything they know about the harvesters. They say it's in case they don't make it. Reed's expression hardened. We're all making it. 30 seconds to jump. The sensors blared a warning as 5 harvester warships appeared from behind a large asteroid, cutting off their escape route. Evasive action. Reed shouted, but it was too late. Energy beams lanced toward them from multiple directions. At the last second, the Nelvari transport moved, positioning itself to absorb several hits meant for the Thunderchild. Quantum drive ready, Chen called. Lock onto the Nelvari ship and engage, Reed ordered. Space warped around them as the Thunderchild's quantum drive activated, pulling both ships into the safety of quantum space. The last thing Reed saw before the stars blurred was the Nelvari transport's hull breached in multiple places, atmosphere venting into space. They had escaped, but at what cost? The Titan's awakening. Damage report, Captain Reed demanded as emergency lighting bathed the Thunderchild's bridge in red. Shields at 41% and regenerating slowly, Kowalski reported. Port weapons array offline. Minor hull breaches on decks 7 through 9. Containment fields holding. The Nelvari ship? Reed asked, though she already feared the answer. Dr. Vargas looked up from her station, her face grim. Multiple hull breaches. Life support failing. They have fewer than 30 minutes of breathable atmosphere remaining. Reed's mind raced through options. Prepare for emergency docking and evacuation. Medical teams to Shuttle Bay 2. We're bringing them aboard. Captain, Commander Chen cautioned, we know nothing about their biology or potential pathogens. We know they're dying, Commander, Reed cut him off. And they took those hits for us. We're not abandoning them. The rescue operation moved with practiced efficiency. Within 20 minutes, the surviving Nelvari, only 17 of the original 43 crew members, were transferred to the Thunderchild. Medical teams worked frantically to stabilize the injured aliens while the science division rushed to analyze their physiology. First speaker Ilara, though severely injured, insisted on meeting with Captain Reed. In the medical bay, surrounded by the soft hum of unfamiliar equipment adapted to keep her alive, the alien leader's luminescence had dimmed to a faint glow. "Your people risked everything to save us," Reed said softly as she approached. "Why?" Ilara's compound eyes focused on Reed. "Because the harvesters must be stopped. They have consumed 12 civilizations in our sector alone. Trillions of lives. Processed. We studied your species from afar. Your resilience. Your determination. Your unpredictability. We believed you might succeed where others failed." Reed felt the weight of those words. "The data you transmitted, our analysts are still deciphering it. It contains everything we know about the harvesters. Their technology. Their weaknesses." Ilara's voice grew fainter. "They will follow us. They always do. And when they find Earth." "They won't," Reed assured her, though uncertainty gnawed at her. "We'll find a way to stop them." Ilara's hand, 5 long, delicate fingers, reached for Reed's arm. "There is something else. Something we detected but could not understand. Your ship, it contains a power we have never encountered before." Reed tensed. How could the Nelvari know about the Thunderchild's classified systems? "Rest now. We'll talk more when you're stronger." Returning to the bridge, Reed found her senior officers in heated discussion. "The quantum drive sustained damage during our escape," Chen was explaining. "We can reach Earth, but not at full speed. Estimated arrival time, 14 days. The harvesters will have tracked our quantum signature," Kowalski argued. "Based on the Nelvari data, they have faster-than-light capability that could overtake us before we reach Earth. So we're leading them straight to our home planet," Vargas said grimly. Reed listened silently, weighing their limited options. Finally, she straightened her shoulders. "Plot a course to the Arcus Nebula. We're not running home." Her announcements silenced the room. Chen was the first to recover. "Captain, the Arcus Nebula is in the opposite direction from Earth. It's uninhabited." "Exactly," Reed confirmed. "If the harvesters are following us, we'll lead them away from populated systems. The nebula's electromagnetic properties will give us tactical advantages, and if we make our stand there, no one else gets caught in the crossfire." "Make our stand," Kowalski repeated incredulously. "Captain, with all due respect, we're talking about a single ship against a fleet that destroys entire civilizations." Reed's eyes met his. "That's why we're going to activate Prometheus." The statement landed like a physical blow. Chen paled visibly. "Captain, Prometheus is untested. The energy requirements alone could burn out our core. And the authorization codes were entrusted to me for exactly this kind of situation." Reed finished. "We're facing an existential threat to humanity. If ever there was a time to use our last resort, it's now." She surveyed the faces of her command crew, seeing their fear but also their resolve. These were the people she had chosen, the best Earth had to offer. "Set the course, Commander, and prepare Prometheus for activation upon my command." The Arcus Nebula sprawled before them, a vast cloud of dust and gas illuminated from within by the birth and death of stars. The Thunderchild moved deeper into its swirling currents, sensors sweeping for any sign of pursuit. They didn't have to wait long. 7 days after entering the nebula, the first harvester ships appeared. 3 massive vessels, each easily twice the size of the Thunderchild. "They'd found us," Nakamura announced, his voice steady despite the tension. "As expected," Reed nodded. "Are they within communication range?" "Yes, Captain." "Open a channel." The view screen flickered to life, revealing a being unlike anything Reed had seen before. Part organic, part machine, its features were a disturbing blend of flesh and metal. Multiple optical sensors focused on Reed with cold precision. "I am Nexus 7 of the Harvester Collective," the being stated, its voice a harmonic blend of tones. Your resistance is noted but futile. Surrender your vessel and biological components for processing. Reed stood tall, facing the screen. This is Captain Meyer Reed of the Earth Defense Force. We will not surrender. We will not be processed. And we will not allow you to threaten our civilization or any other. Your defiance lacks logical foundation, Nexus 7 replied. Our fleet approaches. You are outnumbered 17-1. Your destruction is imminent. Perhaps, Reed acknowledged. But you should know something about humans, Nexus 7. We don't accept inevitability. We make our own fate. She cut the transmission with a gesture. Status of Prometheus. Online and charged to 97% capacity, Chen reported. But Captain, even with Prometheus, the odds. I know the odds, Commander. Reed's voice softened. I'm asking a lot of you, of all of you. If anyone wishes to register formal objection to this course of action, now is the time. Silence fell over the bridge. Reed looked at each of her officers in turn, seeing determination replace doubt in their eyes. Finally, Chen spoke for all of them. We're with you, Captain. All the way. Reed nodded, emotion briefly tightening her throat. Then let's make history. Battle stations. Dr. Vargas, check on our Nelvari guests. They should be secured for what's coming. The first speaker is requesting to join us on the bridge, Vargas replied. Reed considered briefly, then nodded. Granted. Minutes later, Ilara entered the bridge, supported by 2 medical officers. Her condition had improved over the past week, her luminescence brighter, though still far from its original intensity. You've chosen to fight, she observed, taking in the battle preparations. Against such numbers. We have options you don't know about, Reed assured her, and I want you to witness what happens next. For your people. The tactical display showed the approaching harvester fleet, 17 warships in tight formation, energy signatures building as they prepared to fire. They're within range, Kowalski reported, reading energy buildups consistent with their main weapons. Reed took a deep breath. Initiate Prometheus Protocol. Authorization Reed Alpha 7 Omega Titan. Authorization confirmed. The ship's eye responded. Prometheus Protocol initiating. The lights on the bridge dimmed as power redirected throughout the massive vessel. Deep within the Thunderchild, experimental systems that had never been deployed in combat began to activate. What is happening? Ilara asked, her compound eyes wide, as she observed the transformation. Reed watched the readouts with intense focus. Humanity's last resort is awakening. The Thunderchild shuddered as previously hidden components extended from its hull. Armor plates shifted, revealing weapon systems unlike anything seen before. The quantum core at the heart of the ship pulsed with blinding energy, channeling power through newly formed conduits. Prometheus active, the AI announced. Gravitic distortion field online. Dimensional phase weaponry charge. Tactical AI subroutines engaged. On the tactical display, the harvester fleet hesitated, their sensors undoubtedly detecting the sudden surge of unknown energy from the Thunderchild. They're scanning us, Nakamura reported. Energy signatures fluctuating. I think they're confused. Target the lead vessel, Reed ordered. Minimal yield, dimensional phase cannon only. Targeting solution acquired. Kowalski confirmed, hands moving across unfamiliar controls. Ready on your mark. Fire. The Thunderchild's primary weapon discharge, not as a beam or projectile, but as a distortion in space-time itself. The effect was instantaneous and devastating. The targeted harvester ship didn't explode. It simply collapsed inward, crushed by forces that transcended conventional physics. Ilara gasped, her luminescence flaring in shock. What manner of weapon is this? Something we hoped never to use, Reed answered grimly. Prometheus doesn't just attack matter. It manipulates the underlying structure of reality itself. The remaining harvester ships responded immediately, energy weapons firing in concentrated salvos. But the shots dissipated harmlessly against the Thunderchild's gravitic distortion field. They're attempting to adapt, Chen warned. Energy signatures changing. They're learning. As expected, Reed nodded. Begin Phase 2. The Thunderchild accelerated forward, directly into the heart of the Harvester formation. At such close range, the dimensional phase weapons were even more effective, creating localized distortions that tore 3 more enemy vessels apart. But the Harvesters were indeed adapting, their collective intelligence analyzing and responding to each attack. Energy beams began to penetrate the Thunderchild's defenses, rocking the ship violently. Gravitic field destabilizing, Kowalski reported. They're targeting our emitter node specifically. Precision strikes. Reroute power from secondary systems, Reed ordered. Maintain the field at all costs. The battle intensified as the remaining Harvester ships coordinated their attacks with machine-like efficiency. The Thunderchild spun and weaved through the formation, its weapons leaving destruction in their wake, but taking damage in return. Captain, Ilara approached Reed, her voice urgent despite her weakness. The data we transmitted. Did your scientists analyze the Harvester neural network specifications? Reed glanced at her. Partially. Our linguists are still. Their ships are connected through quantum entanglement, Ilara interrupted. A collective consciousness, but there is always a primary node, a command vessel. Understanding dawned in Reed's eyes. We don't need to destroy them all. She turned to the tactical display. Analysis. Identify communication patterns between Harvester vessels. Find me the command node. The ship's AI worked at incredible speed, correlating data from multiple sources. Command node identified. Vessel designated Alpha 3, central position, rear echelon. Reed studied the indicated ship, larger than the others, holding position behind the main attack force. Clever. They're keeping their brain protected. She turned to Kowalski. Target Alpha 3 with everything we have. Full power to dimensional phase cannons. That will drain our reserves below critical levels, Chen warned. We may not recover system functionality. One way or another, this ends now, Reed replied. Execute. The Thunderchild's engines flared as it changed course, pushing through the Harvester formation with single-minded purpose. Damage reports flooded in as enemy fire intensified, but Reed kept her focus on the target ahead. In range in 10 seconds, Nakamura called out. Prometheus at maximum capacity, Kowalski reported. Energy levels critical. Fire when ready. The Thunderchild unleashed its full power, the dimensional phase cannons creating a distortion so severe it was visible to the naked eye, a ripple in the fabric of reality that engulfed the Harvester command vessel. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, silently, the massive ship began to collapse, folding in upon itself like paper crushed by an invisible hand. Throughout the bridge, systems flickered and failed as the Thunderchild's power reserves plummeted. Emergency lighting activated as the main power grid went offline. Command vessel destroyed, Kowalski confirmed, his voice barely audible over damage alarms. Reed watched the tactical display, where the remaining Harvester ships had suddenly stopped firing. They drifted, seemingly without purpose or coordination. Their neural network is severed, Ilara whispered in awe. Without the command node, they cannot function independently. You've done what no other species has accomplished in generations. Slowly, the Harvester vessels began to retreat, moving away from the Thunderchild in disarray. The threat, for now, was neutralized. In the aftermath, as emergency repair teams worked to restore the Thunderchild's critical systems, Reed stood with Ilara at the observation deck, watching the nebula's swirling colors. Your people will recover, Reed assured the first speaker. And Earth stands ready to help rebuild. This victory is not an end, Ilara cautioned. The Harvesters are vast. What you encountered was but a fraction of their force. They will return, eventually, and will be ready, Reed replied. Together, Ilara's luminescence pulsed with a new pattern, respect, perhaps even hope. You humans are unlike any species we have encountered. You created a weapon that could have conquered galaxies, yet kept it hidden until absolutely necessary. Reed gazed out at the stars. Prometheus was never meant to conquer, only to defend. Nevertheless, Ilara observed, the galaxy will soon know that humanity possesses power beyond reckoning. Other species will seek your protection. Some may fear you. Then we'll have to prove ourselves worthy of both alliance and respect, Reed said thoughtfully, one encounter at a time. As the Thunderchild began its long journey back to Earth, carrying news of both a terrible threat and new allies, Reed knew they had crossed a threshold. Humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible, not as conquerors, but as defenders against annihilation. The wars to come would test them in ways they couldn't yet imagine. But for now, they had done the impossible. They had faced extinction and emerged victorious. And the stars themselves seemed to burn just a little brighter for it.